Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Sybouts, Product Development Manager for Advanced Turf Solutions, and my friend here to the side of me,
Chip Houmes. I'm with Precision Laboratories.
Chip. Thanks for coming in today.
Sure.
We're here to talk about water quality and how it affects your pesticides in your spray tank. And you are the expert. So could you give us, why is water quality so important?
Well, a lot of times, that's the primary carrier that we're using to make all of our applications. You've got a lot of issues that could be in the water. You could have high pH, you could have low pH, but looking at pH is important. And looking at bicarbonates and hardness of the water. In agriculture, for years, they've used a term called water conditioning. And water conditioning is tying up the hard water and tying up the bicarbonates so that they don't negatively interact with the pesticides we're applying.
Okay.
And so they find they get much better efficacy. But we're going to look today, I think, at water tests that take a look at what this water is and then discuss how that's going to impact the performance, especially weak acid herbicides, 2,4-D, MCPP, dicamba, glyphosate, glufosinate, and several other herbicides, carfentrazone. All of those are affected by pH and bicarbonates, really much more so with bicarbonates. So when you just look at pH, you may have an indicator, but you really need to look at bicarbonates. And that's why we're excited about this testing, because this actually is looking at bicarbonates.
Great. I've seen some of your presentations before, and you had some data that showed the efficacy improvement by using a buffering agent, correct?
Correct. We've got some data. It was from Michigan State that's showing using a product with, it was a Trimec Classic, but showed about a 26% improvement of efficacy by conditioning the water. It also had a surfactant in it, but really what we're looking at is how are we going to improve that? And what we're talking about is improving it so you're not having to go back and respray.
Right.
You're going to have better control with that initial application.
Okay, excellent. Well, we acquired a test kit from Hatch, and it measures the bicarbonates. And I thought we would go ahead and show the people out there how we're going to do this, that they can bring a sample into our facility.
Yep.
And we'll test it real quick for them, and then we can give them an idea of what they could do with it. So why don't we go ahead? I brought a sample from a well at my house, which was horrible water. And we're going to go ahead and test it real quick. We start out, just put in an indicator powder. Okay, it didn't turn color, so we can move on to the next step. I don't have to add any acid to that. We'll put in the green indicator. Okay, nice and green. Now, if I can keep track of how many drops of acid I put in there to turn it color. 1, 2, 3, swirl it. 4, 5, 6, swirl it. 7, 8, 9. Starting to see a little something. 10, 11, 12. It's trying to. Hang on. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's almost there. 18. 18 drops. So 18 times 20. What's that number?
360.
360? So 360 parts per million calcium bicarbonate.
So 360 parts per million is an issue. If you look at university studies, a lot of times they reference you want to be below 150. We really think you optimize it down around 120. So 120 parts per million, you're at 360. That water is going to antagonize and reduce the efficacy of herbicides, fungicides, insecticides when you're applying them. The longer it's exposed to it, the worse it's going to be. But it's basically what's happening is that hard water, the bicarbonates, are stripping hydrogen atoms off of the active ingredients. And that's changing the molecular formulation of your pesticides and rendering them less effective.
Gotcha. So we've been working with this new product that you brought us called LV, extremely good buffering material. And I'm going to put, treated some water, the same water with LV
Yes.
at a pint per 100, and we're going to take a look at that. Well, Chip, I treated the same water with 1 pint per 100 gallons of LV,
The equivalent.
the equivalent of it, okay? And that's what's in this bottle right now. So let's start and do a test on it again, see how we do.
So same test. The first one was your well water straight.
Yes.
Now this was water that's been treated with the LV.
The same well water. Yep. So there's the first indicator that went in. It's still clear.
Still clear.
So I don't have to put any acid in it yet. Now I'll put the green indicator in.
Turn pink.
Pink. See, just like I told you,
So you don't have to add acid.
I didn't add any, I don't have to add any acid. It's already buffered the water down to 0, basically, according to this test.
And so that's what we've seen. We did water tests in the Chicago area with a lawn care company, and they had a pH of 7.4, which I didn't think was that bad because all they had was pH meters. But we sent their sample off to a laboratory, and when they tested it, it came back at 383 parts per million of hardness,
Oh, man.
even with a pH of 7.4, which surprised me. I thought it wouldn't be that high. Again, our target is to get down below 120. So we also sent water tests off to this lab and did exactly what you just showed here with this quick test, was that a pint rate was adequate enough to bring it down below that 120. When we went to a quart, we took it clear to 0. And so it is rate dependent. LV is a surfactant that has an acidifier in it, and it's basically conditioning or treating the water to tie up those bicarbonates. And your rapid test here, and that's how quick it was in what you just did. Your first test, if someone brought their water sample in to ATS, they're going to have these at each of your locations. They would be able to test their water, and just that quick, they're going to have a response versus having to send it out and wait a day or 2 or 3.
Exactly. We can tell them how hard their water is, and they don't even have to do the LV test. I mean, it's self-evident. It really works.
Yeah.
So, well, come on in. We're going to have test kits for you. We'll check your water and make your herbicides and pesticides work a lot better. So, Chip, thanks
deal.
for coming in. I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.